Hey guys, proper ramble from your favorite SJW White Knight, Agent of Doubt. World's worst, right? So today I want to talk about beating a dead horse, a subject that's like 2 years old now, and everyone else has beaten it to death. But I only come at these things with my own unique angles, and I only speak about these things if I have something to add. And the last time I spoke about BetterHelp, I had emailed the CEO, and the CEO responded, and I was showing the receipts of this, and I had made the argument that the way that they were using affiliate marketing on YouTube with certain YouTubers was in effect a dual relationship with those YouTubers, because those YouTubers had used their services, and so they should not be having business relationships with those YouTubers. Same thing for me as a therapist. I'm not selling any of my clients Girl Scout cookies from my niece who might want me to up her numbers a little bit. It's not going to happen, right? I'm not going to put that undue pressure on my clients to do a little business deal with me. You know what I'm saying? We're a special class of service that you just don't do that. And those sort of dual relationships, they weren't well understood by the rest of the YouTubers that went at BetterHelp, when BetterHelp was basically being featured on every major YouTuber's videos, the largest of which being Shane Dawson. Then PewDiePie made fun of it all. But what I want to talk about today is a look back at all of that with my new perspective, having gone a little bit further in the therapy world myself. Since then, I've worked in a different sort of practice. I plan to work in another different sort of practice. And also, I've gotten therapy myself. And a friend of mine passes out these stickers that say normalize therapy. I really believe in that. So it's okay for me to say that I've had therapy, because, I don't want you guys to think that you can't say it either. You don't just go to therapy for when you're broken. Sometimes you just need to organize your thoughts, It's not just for those who have acute problems in their life. It can actually help anyone at any time. Anyways, so having all these new experiences in the 2 years since, especially in the way that I've been working, I have a bit of a different perspective about BetterHelp. It's still bad for them. Not good at all. But I'm going to first tell you all an analogy, right? This is the analogy of the New York medallion. So cab drivers in New York, they used to have a medallion in order to operate a cab within the city limits, and there was only a certain number of medallions, such that it was creating sort of a monopoly on cabs, like a protected class of worker, where if you didn't have the medallion, you couldn't be a cab. Same thing happens with shrimp boats in Louisiana, actually. For those giant shrimp boats that are out there, each one of them have had to buy the license of a smaller shrimp boat and decommission that one in order to put the license on a new one. True story. Because they limit the number of shrimping vessels out in the water. So, along comes Uber and Lyft, and they don't ask for permission, they just invade. There's no way for the states to react fast enough, and before they know it, before the speed of legislature, which is snail's pace, people have this app on their phone, and they're getting rides for way cheaper than they would have spent on a cab. And the value of those medallions starts to plummet. See, some of the cab drivers, they saved up, and some of them even had to take out a mortgage in order to buy their medallion, right? In order to get into that industry when it was low tech. And they considered their medallion like a house. You know, it was going to appreciate over time, and then they would be able to sell it when they wanted to retire. And that was their nest egg. But this new software that got on everybody's phones and offered them cheaper rides, it just destabilized all of that. And so the value of their medallions kept going down and down and down. Some of them sold quickly. Some of them got stuck holding the bag. Their medallions basically worthless compared to what they paid for them. Lots of angry cab drivers. And that's where we're at this point. Now looking towards the future, let's say Elon Musk were to push a button on his phone, and then every Tesla car after the Model 3 that's equipped with the right technology, all of a sudden their owners get a message on their phones saying, "Today's the day. Do you want to have your car join the fleet and earn money for you?" And some people are like, well, sure, let's do that. And let's say these rides in unmanned cars that, the technology for which was placed in the cars, and it's just a software upgrade that downloads into them that makes it active. The technology was just like slipped under the radar into these places, right? Let's say those rides are cheaper than an Uber because you actually don't have to have a person driving, right? So it's more like a passive income thing. So they can charge a little bit cheaper rate because you're not really bothering someone to be out on the road for hours. It's just their car. It's not them, right? This car is driving itself. Fully automated driving, people get in the back seat, they pay through their app. Maybe the owner left some candies in a basket, and so they tip them for, leaving candies and maybe some hand sanitizer. I don't know. But that's the new business model that actually undercuts Uber and Lyft by being even cheaper than that. Right? So you've got the job is a protected class of job and actually pays good because they can charge customers a lot. Then you've got the mid-range job. And then you've got the job where it's automated and you don't even have a lot of skill involved and people aren't really participating a lot in it, right? That's the analogy that I'm drawing here, okay? So, applying this analogy to the world of psychotherapy, right? I'm talking all the behavioral health licenses. You've got licensed psychologists, LCSWs, licensed clinical social workers. You got LPCs or LMHCs, licensed professional counselors. I'm going to be a licensed addiction counselor pretty soon, within the year. All of these different licenses that you could have, right? If you were to go out and set up a private practice for yourself and you wanted to charge whatever you wanted to charge, as soon as you get a license, you're allowed to. Sky's the limit for how much you want to charge. Go ahead and go on Psychology Today and put in whatever city you live in, and you're going to see rates up over $200 in most big cities. You know, a lot of people around 150 in my city. If they take insurance as well, you know, there's some people that are more interested in high volume and getting their clinical hours that they're willing to serve the public full, you know. But if you take just the people who have a license, just open up an office and don't take insurance, they're allowed to charge whatever they want. Supply and demand. If they have a product that you think is worth it, you're allowed to pay a therapist $500 an hour if you think they're worth it. If you got the money and they've impressed you, go ahead, right? Then we've got the intrusion of insurance, right? Insurance comes along and says, okay, we're going to let you charge a certain rate, but you know, if you're going to have our clients, if you're going to be on our panel and you're going to work with us, then we're going to take whatever you usually charge and not even give you half. We're going to give you 80-90% of half of what you would normally get, right? So for somebody who's charging, around $220, $250, they might get $100, right? And that's for a good paying insurance, right? The draw of those insurances actually is that they have all of the clients on them. It's kind of like, why would you want to work for anybody other than Uber and Lyft, which are like the Coke and Pepsi of ride shares? Why would you want to work for one of the other smaller ride share companies when nobody has those apps on their phones? Same thing with insurance. Providers want to be on the panels that can give them the most clients, right? And that's the draw. That's the give and take. You accept a lower pay, but you're going to get more clients because a large number of people in America pay for their mental health care with their insurance. Now, this brings in the evils of, well, insurance won't pay out unless you give your clients a diagnosis, which then, stays on their record with the insurance company as them having a diagnosis of something. Whereas, in private practice, without an insurance company, you could actually see somebody and just work on, happy things and organizing their thoughts as they're willing to pay you, and not have to leave them with a diagnosis in order to get paid. They swipe their card, you're good, right? Insurance companies, they require detailed notes, and if you're going to give people certain diagnoses, you have to follow up with, what kind of measures did you use to determine this diagnosis and whatnot? And you might even get rejected a lot of the time as far as them wanting to pay you. Because we disagree that person has this, or you don't have the right qualifications to even make that determination. We're going to fight you, rah, 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 rah. And you might actually have the unpleasantness of having to deal with a client that just got a bill that they thought was going to be covered and then wasn't. It's a horrible deal in some situations. Again, many clinicians do it because they want to see clients. They want to see a lot of them. They're afraid to go out on their own because then you would have to market yourself. Just being on a panel means that you're going to get clients. Similarly, if you start driving for Uber, you don't have to find clients. You don't have to put out cards that say yellow cab in bars, right? You just have the app, you get in your car, and on day one, you're going to start getting people calling you. You know, you're going to get rides, and the computer's going to tell you which way to go, and if you're doing the one where people share their ride, it'll like calculate the exact path that you're supposed to go to pick up the most people, you know, and make the most money for you and the company, right? Same thing. You give up a lot of what you would have had in pay for the convenience of not having to market and just getting clients, right? Now, when I made that analogy earlier, I added on that in this future scenario, it could be that Elon Musk flips a switch and every Tesla car becomes an unmanned driving cab that you could just hop in the back of and it'll drive you to your destination. Driverless cars. And that could be cheaper, right? That's what I'm calling BetterHelp now. Right? In the application of this analogy to psychotherapy. And basically there's no one at the helm for a lot of it. People are getting horrible service as far as the human warmth of it. There's no one to chat with, in the driver's seat of a driverless car. And similarly, there is just a user interface where there might be a person who's on the other end, but you still have to get that message to them through that mechanical interface, right? So, just like when I said the Tesla program might pay the owner of the car a lot less than the Uber drivers were getting, who made a lot less than the medallion cab drivers, BetterHelp pays therapists a lot less than they would be getting if they worked for an insurance panel, which pays a lot less than they would make if they were working private practice. I can tell you right now that at my level of education and licensure with the state, which is pre-master's level and pre-license, I have certifications. At this level, I finally made it up to about $37.50 an hour, right? Once I get my license within a year, I already have offers from panels and group practices that will offer to get me paneled with insurances to where I could get at one place $70 an hour, another place between $25 and $83, which I think that's because they're accepting Medicaid for some of their clients, or they have a very weird sliding scale where some clients you're just basically taking pro bono. That's that other place. But basically, there's these panels that are the next level up for me, right? I would be licensed, just taking insurance as a licensed therapist. I could go private practice and be taking, right out the gate, just accepting $150, $200 left and right for what I do, right? But I'd have to market. I'd have to go rent my own place, put my shingle out, and it would be a slow trickle of clients coming in because it's only those that can afford that much, and you really have to prove that you are that worth it with your marketing. And also retain the clients by, bringing the bang for the buck. Every time they leave is another time that they might not come back, right? And if you're not getting a lot of intakes, then you got to have retention of your clients, and that's not always best as far as not fostering codependency with the therapist. It's not best as far as a solution-focused perspective on therapy, you know? So, you know, there's trade-offs between the private practice versus insurance world. But you've heard me say a lot of numbers, right? As soon as I get my license, I could apply to BetterHelp. And it only takes a little couple clicks of your mouse away to go to, say, Glassdoor.com and go to their threads and see how much therapists get paid by BetterHelp. Somewhere between $15 and $20 an hour. Less than I'm making right now, and I don't even have a license, right? And in the Denver area where I live, I'm looking at a Panda Express that is paying the cashier $16 and the cook $17. And there's a big sign outside that says this. Why would I want to put myself through all the years of school that I did and take on student loans only to get the same pay as a burger flipper? You know? I don't want to be in the same realm as that. That's what BetterHelp is. And I don't think that's good for the therapists. And if all the therapists are hurting, how hurting are the clients going to be? You would have to be living in a pretty remote part of the U.S. at this point for $20 an hour for a master's level clinician to sound like it's worth it to you. I didn't have this sort of perspective back when this happened 2 years ago, that BetterHelp was the topic du jour, but I can see it now. And what I'm thankful for, strangely enough, in this year, one of the silver linings for me for the pandemic was the therapy that I was doing, the group therapy that I was doing, got turned into telehealth. Right? And so the same angle that you guys are seeing me in my leather chair, except for I usually wear a collared shirt, not a Deadpool shirt. The same angle. This is how people see me for my daily work week. You know, just like, you know, every day. This is how I make my money. And there were a lot of things that had to go into that. Immediately when the shutdowns happened, Governor Polis here in Colorado and a lot of other governors made it so that insurance had to take telehealth as they would normal therapy, and then they made it so that anyone just doing any sort of practice could do telehealth just to, you know, keep everyone safe. So, like, in my situation, people coming to DUI therapy, trying to get their driver's licenses back, instead of having 15 people crammed into a room the size of this room, you know, where you could elbow each other and any cough would probably infect everyone in the room. Instead of that, we get to do telehealth. Now, we're going on 9-10 months of that now, right? And the pandemic still is raging on, And no one is telling any of us that we can't stop doing telehealth. And that's not just my practice. That's everyone is doing telehealth. Some people are still doing in person, but like distanced in their own office, like, you know, and wearing masks while they're doing therapy. For some clients that cannot do telehealth, but only those, really. But largely, I think that this is a change in the way that we're going to be able to do practice going forward. And so me making the money that I'm making, which without even having my license yet, is double what BetterHelp therapists are making using that platform. I think technology just, because of this pandemic, because it's 2020, it just kind of accidentally undercut BetterHelp by making it so that all of us didn't have this restriction that BetterHelp kind of was exploiting. The fact that there was therapy that insurance companies would not pay for if it was telehealth. Right? There were some therapies that were restricted from being telehealth at all, like DUI therapy, like criminal justice clients, like minors. They were, by Colorado state law, not allowed to have telehealth at all because it was seen as something where you couldn't reach the clients as well if they were mandated to be there. It was there was going to be this disconnect, and now we're finding, I've been pulling it off for going on 10 months now. So it works. It was just a lot of fear over nothing for, the whole field for every year before 2020. And going forward, I don't know that they can stuff everything back into Pandora's box and say, no, you guys can't do telehealth anymore. I think we're going to continue to be able to do it. That was one of the things that Talkspace and BetterHelp were kind of just like Uber and Lyft, or like those Lime scooters that have been laid everywhere. They broke into different markets and didn't ask permission, and then they asked for forgiveness later, and they pushed the envelope a little bit. But now the tables have turned. They don't have that first to the market advantage anymore, and people can get this real experience with better software, like a HIPAA compliant Zoom account. Will do better than the Talkspace or BetterHelp platforms by far. And it's got stronger servers and better backers as far as the money that's been put into their servers. So, I'm kind of happy that BetterHelp might be seeing their comeuppance, because their little niche is not as protected as it was. And also, people will be able to get therapy from companies that actually call what they do therapy, right? Not help, not counselor services instead of counseling, which is on the BetterHelp fine print on their website. It says that you should consider this an alternative to therapy. It's just in addition if you want it, right? So I'm still waiting on the case law that's going to be generated from the first client that presents to a therapist on BetterHelp, then perhaps does something bad, maybe hurting themselves or others. And then when that therapist is called into question for how they were able to help that person, in court, it's going to be brought up that they were not providing therapy. They were not providing counseling as per BetterHelp's website. And their practice insurance, all of us have malpractice insurance, right? Their insurance will not cover things outside of therapy and counseling. It has to be real therapy and counseling for their insurance to be protecting them. So they will be completely liable. And some poor therapist somewhere, and I say poor because BetterHelp doesn't pay, some poor therapist somewhere is going to be that case where they get the shirt sewed off their back, and maybe the rest of the therapists that work for BetterHelp will jump ship and start actually calling themselves therapists. I hope all this made sense. Any questions you have about my little analogy and anything else, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for listening to my ramble, and I'll see you guys later.